Shalom, family. This is Or Ibri, author of Making Your Enemy Your Footstool, investor and consultant. And I want to come to you today with another video. So this evening, I was sitting, um, in the living room or in the dining room. I'm sorry, sitting in the dining room, and my stepchildren they had went out to the store and they had came back, and they were coming in the house, and my stepdaughter's boyfriend was coming in the house. And so we have a dog, a little small Yorkie or whatever. She's definitely not a protective dog. She's more of a, I like to call her my warning dog. She warns of danger. She can't necessarily protect us from danger, but she can warn us of danger. So my dog starts barking, because she's not used to my stepdaughter's boyfriend coming over. So she doesn't know who he is. She knows him, but he isn't someone who's in the house all the time. And so she starts barking at him as he's coming up the stairs. And so my biological son, he's younger, he's 8, and he's like, Luna, shut up, be quiet. And he's saying that as soon as she starts barking. And then it hit me like, first off, I tell my dog to be quiet. I tell her to shut up when she goes doing all that crazy barking. But one thing that I noticed, and this is the topic of the video, we teach our children habits without teaching them the origin of the habits. So when I say we teach our children habits without teaching them the origins of the habits, this is what I mean. My son hears me tell the dog to shut up, stop barking. So when Luna starts barking all crazy, he tells her to do the same thing he sees me doing. Nothing wrong with that. However, one of the things that he doesn't realize is Luna's barking is for a purpose. And when Luna starts barking, I don't immediately tell her to be quiet. Because I know if my dog is barking for a reason. There's an entity on the premise that she's not familiar with, and so she's warning us. So before I tell her to stop barking, I'll go and check the premise of my home. I'll go make sure the home is safe, make sure there's nobody or anything that's around or on my property that's not supposed to be there. My dog does an excellent job of warning us when something is on the premise that's not supposed to be there. My son didn't know that. So he picked up on the habit of me telling Luna to be quiet when she started barking. He never got up to check the premise. When I thought about this, I thought about how many other things in our lives have gotten passed down from our parents that they do that we just do and we don't know why it's done, or things that we pass along to our children that we just do and they don't know why it's done, and they don't know the origins of it, or they don't know the underlying actions behind it before it gets done. How often does that happen? It happens quite often. It happens a lot. And as we can see through the progression of human history, certain actions have become watered down because the intent behind the action was not passed along to the next generation. So I'm a believer in supernatural powers and being able to do certain things, and I do know for a fact, especially individuals who live in an advanced society, technology has weakened a lot of our natural abilities. Some people may think I'm crazy, some people may not think I'm crazy, whatever. It's my thought process is what I subscribe to. And I do believe when I read ancient texts that those things that people were doing was not like metaphors or not analogies, like no, people were actually able to do these things. But what has happened is over the course of time, certain practices have gotten passed down without the intent behind it, and so we've totally forgot how to do things. And even if we don't take it on that level, even if we take it, let's just say for instance, we could do something as simple as cooking. Like if you really look at the seasonings, people think seasonings are just for taste. So they remember grandmama when she cooking, what I'm saying, she cooking, let's say, a pot of collard greens. They remember, okay, she put this in it, this ingredient, that ingredient in it. And so they're like, okay, grandma put all of this in it, let me put it in it. But they not realizing, why did grandma put, let's just say she may have put garlic in it. And you're thinking, oh, she putting garlic in there for taste. But that ain't it. Like grandma put garlic in it because garlic is a natural healer. Like it kills the parasites and bacteria and pathogens and viruses in your body. Onions as well. Like she wasn't necessarily putting onions and garlic in the collard greens for taste. Now what do? We now go get the onion powder and the garlic powder and put it in there because, we trying to make it taste good, not realizing that grandma put fresh onion and fresh garlic in it, not to make it taste good, but to protect us and to build up our immune system. So we've totally lost the whole purpose of why grandma put garlic and onion in the collard greens. So how many other things of your life is that happen to where you're just doing something and you don't even realize that you've lost the purpose and the intent behind the action? And let's going back to cooking, seasoning food. Like, grandma put buttermilk, soak the chicken in buttermilk and put this and that. Not realizing that you think, if I just dip it in the buttermilk and whatever. No, grandma let that thing sit in the buttermilk for 3 or 4 days so that way the flavor get down to the bone. Like it was a purpose behind it. She didn't just dip. She put it in the buttermilk. But you think, if I put it in the buttermilk, dip it in there, then coat it with the flour, or I let it sit for 10, 20 minutes. No, she let it sit for 3 or 4 days. So you got the process, which was chicken and buttermilk, but you didn't get the intent behind it. You didn't get the intent behind the purpose of the buttermilk or letting it sit in the buttermilk. You didn't get the purpose behind why she put certain seasonings in certain foods. See, we miss all of these things and we just do actions. And so when we just do actions, we're like, why aren't we getting the same results? And then we think, well, someone lied to us. No, you're not doing it with the right intention. You're not doing it for the right. You haven't done it for the right you haven't done it with the right intentions because you don't even know the intentions behind it. You haven't done it for the right purpose because you don't know the purpose behind it. You've totally missed why something is done. And then you're like, well, it's not working. My food don't taste like grandma food. Well, you ain't doing it for the purpose that grandma did it for. Even when you look at just sticking with the food topic, because this is something that relates to a lot of people. You look at, let's just say, hundreds and thousands of years ago, they were making bowls of chili. And so you're like, okay, these are the ingredients. Why were those specific ingredients put in the bowl of chili? Like when you look at the ingredients that are in chili, you got your salt, you got your pepper, you got your cumin, you got your chili powder, you have your garlic, your onion. What else am I missing? Some people may put like rosemary or oregano in it. Just a few other things, so I can't think on the top of my head. But there's a lot of seasonings that go into it. But if you think about what chili originated at, and then why they were eating it, and then the beans and all of that, well, what were those herbs and spices protecting them from in that environment? So you just going and you just putting whatever in there and not knowing what it's for. And so now you don't know why anything does anything, and now you just follow whoever tells you to do whatever whoever's telling you to do, and that's a problem because the mainstream doesn't have your best interest at heart like you do. So you have to figure out why things are the way that they are. So when my son told the dog to be quiet, off rip, soon as the dog started barking, shut up, Luna, he don't realize, You telling the dog to be quiet. You got somebody sneaking up. Now, you don't even you didn't even think, hey, let me scan the perimeter of the home to see why the dog is barking. Now somebody breaking your house, and now you're at a disadvantage. And that's what happens to us in life, because we don't know how to do what things were originally intended for us to do. So the negative consequence of that happens. You don't know why certain foods or certain things are put together. For instance, going back to food, most people feel like eating meat is bad. Now, I'm not here to debate eating meat or not eating meat. But this is what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are eating a whole bunch of meat, and they're not eating the proper size to go with the proper meat. So for instance, if I'm eating red meat, if I'm eating steak, lamb, elk, bison, whatever that red meat is, it's wrecking my system because I'm eating a whole bunch of meat and I'm eating a little bit of vegetables. And not only am I eating a little bit of vegetables, I'm not even eating the proper vegetables to go with the meat. Most people don't realize when you eat a heavy red meat, you have to eat a lot of greenage to go with it, because the red meat is heavy and dense in your system, and the greenage and the leafage are like scrubbing pads. So they go in with the red meat and they cleanse the red meat out of your system. But if you just eat red meat and potatoes are not going to cleanse your system the way that green leafage and roughage will do. So you're wondering, why is this red meat tearing up my system? Because you haven't put the proper things with the red meat. So how many times in your life overall are you putting things out of order, and then you're like, why is these things wrecking my life? That's because you aren't doing things in the proper order. You aren't grouping things together properly. You aren't doing things how they were originally intended to be done. So you're getting the effect on that. And ain't no amount of praying, ain't no amount of wishing, ain't no amount of hoping, ain't no amount of nothing you can do can change the effects of your actions if you don't change your actions. You can't eat red meat all day, every day, no vegetables, and then think praying for good health is going to get you good health. No. Like, you got to eat red meat and then eat a whole bunch of green leafage around it in order to get that good health that you want. So what I challenge you all to do is, in your life, go through your life and look at the actions that you do. And look at those actions and see what was the original intent behind that action. Majority of the things that we do were things that were picked up from the world around us, whether it be our parents, grandparents, friends, parents, teachers, mentors, motivators, influencers, friends, whatever. You picked up an action from somewhere. What is the intent behind that action? What was the original intent behind that action? And figure that out, so that way when you're doing something, you can be doing it for the right reasons, and it can have the proper effect on your life. Stop just doing stuff just because you saw somebody doing it, because when you just do stuff because you saw someone else doing it, you don't get the full effect of why that person was doing it. You have to know why they were doing it. So with the example with my son, he didn't know that you let the dog bark a little bit first before telling the dog to be quiet, because you're trying to scan the perimeter. And if there is something on the perimeter, the dog barking may scare them away. If I tell the dog to shut up, it might not scare whatever's on the perimeter away. If I just tell the dog to shut up and don't go scan the perimeter, then I give somebody the opportunity to get the jump on me. So these are the things that you have to do in your life to ensure that you are making the proper moves in life, and you're doing things with the proper intent. So with that, I am Or Ibri. Go heal yourselves, and go build something. And I say peace and shalom.